Hey guys, my name is Gerald Morgan. I'm a sommelier and owner of a fine wine shop here in Dallas, Texas, and real men drink wine. All right, so whenever you go out to have dinner and you're going to have some wine, you may not go through the entire tasting process. But let's say that you're going to a wine tasting event where you're going to get a smaller pour of wine and you're going to be able to taste through a number of wines. I'm going to take you through kind of the wine tasting 101, the things that you will do when you taste wine. So the first thing is you actually just want to look at the glass and see what color the wine is. It's going to tell you a little bit about the wine, where it's from potentially, if it's got kind of a darker kind of hue around the edge of the glass, if it's kind of that brown color. A lot of times that'll tell you a couple of things. It's maybe a little oxidized, so it's got some oxygen in it. It could be an older wine, but most of the time that's indicative of kind of the old world style of wine. If you've got this real bright kind of ruby color coming at you for the most part, that's probably going to be a new world style wine. That's just some basic stuff. Obviously not every wine fits into that category, but if you're trying to decide what kind of wine it is without even tasting it or smelling it or anything else, that's kind of the first step for you. The next thing that you want to do is look at kind of the brightness. Don't get too deep into the woods on this stuff, but again, it's going to tell you a little bit about the style of wine that you have in front of you. The big things that you do want to do is take a look at the wine and swirl it, right? We're going to talk about some legs on a wine, and we talked about it in one of our myths video here. Basically, you see where the teardrops start to develop on the wine glass and how long it takes them to do that. It's going to tell you a little bit about the consistency, the thickness, maybe the viscosity of the wine, and also a little bit about the alcohol content, but not too much, right? So you're not reading a whole lot into that. You can have a great wine with horrible legs, meaning it's real runny, or you can have a glass of wine that's really, really bad that has great legs, right, that are long and there's not a lot of teardrops forming there. So don't get too big into that. The next thing that you want to do is smell the wine. This is one of the most important steps. Again, 90% of what you taste is what you smell. So let's make sure we commit to this, right? Put your nose all the way down into the glass, right? Where this glass is focusing the aroma is right there at the tip of my finger. So I want to smell the wine and commit to the smell, right? It smells really good, actually. This is a great glass for just about every kind of red wine, and we talk about that in our accessories video. But really, when we swirl the wine in this glass, one, it's big enough, we've got plenty of room to swirl, we're not going to slosh it out. If you're uncomfortable with swirling, put it down on the table in front of you and just kind of learn how to swirl it. You're just kind of breaking the surface tension of the wine and getting oxygen down into it so it can release the bouquet, right? And all the aromas that you're going to smell. So get a great smell of the wine. You can tell a lot. Most sommeliers can actually tell you what kind of wine that you have in front of you just by smelling it, right? It's a really, really easy process to go through if you kind of take the time to go through the steps. But if you're just going out to have a good time and taste the wine, it's very important to release all of that aroma so that when you taste the wine, you're getting all that it has to offer, right? A lot of times you can also decant a wine before you put it into the glass. That's something that a lot of people do for wines that are a little bit more bold and rich in flavor and style, or wines that are a little older. I would highly recommend decanting all of your wines, even the white wines that you have. Let them sit out for just a little bit. You can use the Venturi, you can use the Nuance aerator, you can use an actual decanter, whatever you would like to use, whatever you have. We've got a lot of stuff on our website that you can grab. Feel free to shop that and get some of those items, but it really lets the wine open up a little bit and release all of that aroma. Again, 90% being tied to that aroma. Now that you've swirled the wine a little bit and you're kind of releasing the aroma, the next thing that we're going to do is taste the wine. Now, that's a pretty self-explanatory process. I don't have to draw you a map or anything. But when you taste the wine, I want you to do something a little bit different. Take just a little bit of a sip, enough to kind of get enough wine on your palate to where it's going to coat just about everything, right? So not a full mouth, but a little bit to move around, because you're going to taste different aspects and components of the wine on different places. For example, the acidity receptors in your mouth are in the front. You're going to get a lot of the fruit down the middle of your tongue and the middle of your palate. And then you're going to sense a lot of that tannic, that bitter kind of thing that takes away the water in your mouth a little bit, and that kind of makes you lick your gums, kind of in your gums and your cheeks. So a lot of the different components of the wine are going to be expressed differently on different parts of your palate. And you want to get all of that on the first sip. Now, That's not normally how you're going to drink a glass of wine, so just do that with a little bit at the beginning. Taste, try to get a little bit of the components. I highly recommend you take notes if you're at a wine tasting that affords you the opportunity to do that. But if you're not and you're just sitting around having a good glass of wine, take a quick sip, swirl it around your mouth, take it down, and then take your normal gulps, sips, drinks, whatever you happen to like after that, and enjoy the rest of the glass of wine. Now, that's going to tell you just about everything about the wine in a really easy way to see what the wine is all about. There's a lot of other tricks to the trade. If you want to know them, just let us know. You can email us and ask us any questions that you might have. But one real quick thing, I've got a Pinot Noir sitting here on the table. A lot of times Pinot Noir can taste very different from two different places. So when you go through this tasting process, you can actually determine where this Pinot Noir is from without ever really having to take a sip, right? Most of your Burgundian style Pinot Noirs, stuff that's from Burgundy, France, or stuff that's from Oregon, is going to be pretty thin. So if you take the glass of wine, hold it at an angle, and then if you're at a restaurant, hold a menu underneath it. If you're at your house, find something with writing on it, a newspaper, something, a page with anything kind of writing on it. If you can read the writing through the wine, pretty close to the edge, probably a half an inch, a quarter of an inch in from the rim of the glass, then you have probably got a Burgundian style of Pinot Noir. It's going to be thinner. It's probably going to have a lot of cherry to it. It may even have some earthiness, some of those tones that a lot of people like. If you don't, if you have something that's a little darker and you can't really read through it, maybe you can't even see that there's letters on the other side, you've really got a California style, very high extraction, a lot of skin contact for the color. So the flavor is going to be a lot of dark fruits. It's going to be a much more bold wine. So there's a lot of things that you can tell about a wine just by going through that tasting process. If you like to learn more about it, dig into it, do it as much as you want. But if you just want to have a good glass of wine, swirling is the key, and then take your first sip. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video. We've got a lot more wine videos on Art of Manliness, so make sure you check all of those out. You can find us on the web. We can deliver wine and all of the accessories that you've seen here directly to your home. And that's it, I'm done, man.